All right, in a major move, the Reserve Bank of India has issued a circular for international trade settlement in Rupee. The central bank is putting in place additional arrangements for invoicing, payments and settlement of exports and imports in the Indian currency. The RBI says the move has been made with emphasis on exports from India and to support the increasing interest of the global trading community in the INR. Authorized dealer banks will require prior approval from the RBI for this. Experts say that in a situation like the Ukraine-Russia war, the move may also facilitate to bypass orders that prevent the use of a global currency such as the US dollar for trade, for example, with Russia. Let me first bring in Ankur to understand the highlights of this big move.
Yes, definitely. As far as the idea behind the process, Reserve Bank of India has clearly said that it wants to put in place an additional arrangement for invoicing, payment and settlement of export as well as imports. Now the decision has been taken to promote growth of global trade and the emphasis is increasing exports for India. Apart from that, this is also to support interest of global trading community, which Reserve Bank of India believes has increased over years. Now what needs to be done here? The authorized dealer or the banks need to take prior permission from Reserve Bank of India's Foreign Exchange Department for starting this process, which is already in place as soon as the circular is released. As far as the exchange rate between the currencies of two trading partners is concerned, that will be market determined, and that is what Reserve Bank of India has already clarified.
All right, let me go across now to Tamal Bandyopadhyay, author and senior journalist, who's joining us now to just give us the context. Tamal, would it be correct to see this in the context of a weakening rupee? This can be an attempt to pull back, isn't it, if importers are allowed to settle dues in rupees instead of having to buy dollars?
Hey, Tamanna, I think it's the reason could be even deeper. Prima facie, I was a bit confused because, here is a country which has capital control and which has current account deficit. So who will be interested in our currency? How will the globalization of Indian currency work? It will work. But later, when I have gone through it, here are my findings. One is, I think it's a very well thought out and very smart move. First is an enabling provision. So yes, not everybody, but maybe the smaller economies like our neighboring countries, they will be, maybe some parts of Africa, etc. They will be interested in trade with our local currency. That's point number one. And as and when we become big 5 trillion economy, of course, our currency will get much stronger. But the larger reason could be, I think, the Russian oil that is playing a very major role. You see, this is the only way to actually skirt the U.S. sanction, because Russia would not have been able to do it through dollar. So it will be a rupee ruble kind of stuff, which earlier India has done. Indo-Soviet, if you see historically, India-Soviet had in 1953 that the rupee ruble pact, but which was not working out and ended in 2005 because our import was much higher than export. So there was a huge surplus. But I think this time it will work because it has also explained how the surplus will be worked. It says that the surplus can be, suppose the Russian import is far higher than what Russia imports from India, and there is too much of rupee in Russia's custody, then Russia can use this to buy government bond, T-bill, etc., etc. So I personally think, I would like to believe that whether it's Russia or Iran, if you remember, we had a similar pact with Iran. When Iran was under sanction, there was a pact, and the UCO Bank was the conduit used for doing trade with Iran in rupee. And other very important part, Tamanna, is this. The China has already started. China has already 2015 the CIP, cross-border payment system. And China has been doing Russia using yuan. So I think we would not like to face a situation where tomorrow Russia says, well, look, I mean, you have to settle our trade in the Chinese currency. Instead, you go for our own currency. I think it's an extremely thought out case. And one very interesting part also, if you look at the RBI circular, I think it will also bypass the SWIFT. It will be outside SWIFT. Because if you under US sanction, so you can't do all the trade transaction has to be gone through SWIFT. But here it will be outside the SWIFT. I think it's a special.
What about the essential question of in the context of Russia, this makes sense. Russia is under Western sanctions right now, and if you want to buy crude from them, this perhaps opens the door for a rupee-ruble exchange, etc. Maybe with smaller neighboring economies like you mentioned, but a bulk of our imports, if we really want to internationalize the rupee, globalize the rupee, will the rupee as of today be an acceptable mode of payment?
No, definitely not. Not in this. Not right now, but Ravana, it's an enabling provision. It's an enabling provision. So you start with smaller economies like, say, Nepal, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, some of the African countries, probably some, and then maybe a couple of countries within the BRICS also can happen. And as and when economy grows, our economy, I think it will becoming the tempo will gather the momentum. But for the time being, I think the primary reason could be, or the main reason could be, the Russian trade with Russia and probably with Iran, and in terms of Venezuela also. Venezuela also is a oil producing country, member of OPEC. I think that's the way to do. You do it outside SWIFT, the trade, and also you do it in advance so that you don't face a situation where Russia says, "Look, we can't do it with dollar, but let's do it with yuan, with Chinese renminbi, Chinese currency." So instead, if we have this, you have the possibility keeping open. So it's actually the revisiting the Indo-Soviet trade agreement, which started which signed off 1953 and then ended 2005. I think it's a backdoor entry of that, if I may say so.
Tamal, do you think there'll be backlash? Do you think there'll be backlash?
I would not think so, because it's a general, and there is no reference to Russia at all. It's general enough for making in currency a global currency, all invoicing with
yes, which we have every right to do, to push the rupee as global currency. We'll have to see how this is accepted by trading partners around the world. Thank you, Tamal, as always, for joining us and giving us perspective on that big story.